Steve Martin used to joke that robots were stealing his luggage, but if Elon Musk is right, soon robots will pack your luggage, drive you to the airport, and fly your plane on vacation from a job that you don't have anymore because robots do that too while you enjoy a life of leisure. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. And gentlemen, in the future, which Elon Musk says is just 10 or maybe 20 years from now, work
well, it always is.
Right? I'm losing it already. Work will be optional, thanks to millions of AI robots in the workforce, able to usher in a wave of enhanced productivity, so much so that Musk says, and this is a quote, "My prediction is that work will be optional. It'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that." This is at a conference in D.C. last week. He said, "If you want to work, it's the same way you can go to the store and just buy some vegetables, or you can grow vegetables in your backyard. It's much harder to grow vegetables in your backyard, but some people still do it because they like growing vegetables. My guess is if you go out on a long enough curve, assuming there's a continued improvement in AI and robotics, which seems likely, money," he says, "will even stop being relevant." And if you're like me and your vision of the future is Logan's Run, but without the getting killed at age 30, this all sounds great. But Scott, much as I love this kind of thinking, there's also a side of it that I think is scary as hell, because I believe in this AI-enhanced return to the Garden of Eden, but I get the feeling that maybe people are better off when we have to work up at least a little brow sweat to eat our food. Just at least a little.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, I mean, in Garden of Eden terms, by the sweat of your brow you will earn your bread. God sends them out from the garden and basically says, what was a pleasant time for you in Eden is going to be a labor for you, and woman, you're going to really have trouble with your husband. Well,
the way I remember the story, they had some trouble in the garden too. Those two crazy kids.
Yes, and I think really the guy got off easy with that. The woman took the brunt, but after all, she was at least the first that we know of that was engaged with the rebellion against God. So. It's fair. It's hard to imagine such a thing. I get the analogy because I was thinking immediately, it's like there are things that people do now. I have colleagues at work who are so devoted to some sort of sport, either a sport that they actually engage in like pickleball or golf, or a sport that they merely watch like baseball or football at the professional level, that I just think, where do you find the time to do all this work to keep up on this? It's like, I feel like I have a colleague who every time I turn around, if there's nobody currently needing his services, he'll be giving instructions on how to line up your golf swing to one of the guys in the other department nearby. I'm constantly looking over and I'm seeing him with his, trying to keep his head down and swinging his arms and everything. And I'm like, what kind of time commitment has he given to this? He's got to be spending more time about the game of golf, and in his case, also pickleball.
Let me jump in for a sec, because that's kind of Musk's point. The reason we are able to do this is because we're pretty damn productive. We're some of the most productive people on Earth, and so we have enough free time to teach people this golf swing that we've been working on in our free time.
Well, and it's amazing because we whine about, all our 40-hour work weeks or whatever, if that, that we're slaving away. And I was like, you know what the work week used to be? All the time when you're not sleeping. Like, that is the work week. And a lot of that time, you're not only working because you have to eat, but you're also trying not to die. So that, meanwhile, we can take a lazy day and binge watch 13 seasons of our favorite show on Netflix. But so we're really we're being served by Rosie the Jetsons robot, She just doesn't look like that. But there are, the fact that I can take 4 steps and get ice cubes that are being made in real time, live for me every moment of the day. There's a robot making ice cubes for me. So, yeah, I don't, like, to me, in Elon Musk's world, I would be writing software or building robots. Like, that would be my job. I would be having fun doing that because it would be fascinating to see if we could improve that. I just read a story in the Wall Street Journal today about two women who are operating this business that has gotten millions of dollars in funding already. The company is estimated to be worth $750 million. And of course, this is before they have an actual product. And, they both used to work for some tech giant, and now they're, in a spare bedroom in a house in the suburbs building this thing. And what they're doing is they are creating the capacity for any company to manufacture its own chips. And basically, their theory is, if I understand it, right now, there are only a handful of companies that make microchips, and they're huge companies, and it's a big dang deal because every time they change production or they update something, it costs, billions of dollars so that they can retool everything.
Those fabs are just ruinously expensive. Yeah.
But what they're saying is, essentially, the reason that's the case is because they're making chips that can go in anything. We want to give you, Steve Green, the power to make a chip that can only go in your ice maker. You're making an ice maker. Here's the chip. You can use this software to create a chip that will be perfect for your ice maker. It will not have general capabilities, and you can make it yourself. Yeah. And that just blew my mind. And I'm like, holy cow. And they just had a picture of these two women who, look like they have too much time on their hands, but what they're really doing is changing the world.
Well, or they've just reinvented the EEPROM, and boy, did I just earn some nerd cred with that reference. No, I wish them the best of luck. I'm not sure what I would design a chip to do.
Does it have dip switches on it?
The company is called something like Recursive, but it's RICURSIVE. I don't know how many dip switches are on it. I'm guessing 8.
Yeah, because the more productive we are, and this is how I explained this to my boys when they were younger, and they asked, why don't we just have a 5-day weekend and a 2-day work week? And I said, because we're not that productive yet.
Yeah.
The time you have off is the time you pre-worked.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay, that aside, Bill, in case things go sour, do you have a message to send to the future to our robot overlords?
Well, I, for one, welcome our insect overlords and would like to remind them that as a trusted member of the news media, I can be useful in rounding up other humans to have them work in their underground sugar caves. And thank you for that. That's got to have been 5 years since I had that opportunity.
It has been a while.
You and your robophobic attitude. So I think there's two things really at stake here, and I think he's right. I think this is certainly a possible future.
Yeah.
A future without work and without money and productivity. It's possible. So I think the first thing you have to do is you have to distinguish between work and drudgery. I'm against eliminating work. I think people need to work. To stay sane, they need to work. But drudgery is, I'm glad I don't have to hand wash dishes. I'm glad I don't have to take my clothes down to the brook, and pound them on stones and so on. So the elimination of drudgery, the elimination of anything that is just essentially wasted time. That's not really, drudgery is not producing anything. Work produces something of quality. Drudgery is just plain, it's a tax. It's a tax, yeah. So removal of drudgery and freeing up people's time in that regard, I'm completely in favor of. And as a guy who hasn't had to go to work in 15 years, there's a lot to be said for that, speaking for myself. But just as a quick detour, we look out into the universe, we don't see any intelligent life and no signs of any. And there's an expression that's come into fairly common usage called the great filter. And the idea is that there's something that's either behind us. In other words, we've already cleared this hurdle and we're the first ones to do it that allow us to become a technological civilization, or the great filter is in front of us. Every civilization hits this thing and fails, and that's why we don't see, space people everywhere. And explanations for the great filter are things like nuclear war or artificial general intelligence takes over, or there's some kind of a plague. I think the most likely scenario, if the great filter is in front of us, is a sort of lassitude about life, is a sense that there is nothing worth living for, that there's no purpose, and that people just get stupider and lazier over every generation simply because hardship has been eliminated. Hardship is what drives innovation. Hardship. Every millionaire I've known has done what they've done because they wanted to do something, but they all started out broke and ended up working 80, 100 hours a week. Yeah. Finally succeeded, and it's that desire, And if you take away the desire, then what are you left with? The recent history of humanity is not, it's neither here nor there. But speaking in terms of percentages, it seems to be that there's very small percentage of the human population that is self-actualizing. For example, as we've discussed on the show a couple times, the advent of the internet, and high-speed internet especially, means that any one of us can get PhD level educations in virtually anything. We could simply pursue our interests. We could, if you don't like working as a barista, you can essentially become an engineer, certainly a plumber or something that doesn't require certification. And we use it, speaking for myself, to watch the WKRP and Cincinnati telethons. And we don't apply ourselves to the assets that we have as a general rule to enrich our lives. So this is it's not just built into human nature, it's built into biology. If you put too much food down, you get fat humans. And if you put too much food down, you get fat cats, you get fat dogs, you get fat monkeys, you get fat bacteria. You simply were not designed for this. And that's the thing that I really worry about, is that we're not built for perpetual leisure. Some small percentage of the population, Elon Musk chief among them, are in fact designed for perpetual leisure. It's funny to say that because Elon Musk, I'm sure, works more hours than any other human on the planet.
I don't think he said a non-working hour.
But he is a fully,
life.
I don't want to sound too much of a fanboy, but he's a great example of this kind of classical Renaissance man who's a fully actualized individual who wakes up every day and realizes that I have a limited number of days on this earth and I'd better start doing something with this next half hour. But that is an exceedingly rare quality. I do happen to think that can be taught, by the way, but I don't think you can teach that in a vacuum. And I think, frankly, when I think about all the experiences that I've had in my life, almost all of the ones that have proven useful in the line of work I'm in now came as a result of me having to be a limo driver to pay bills and had to be a security guard to pay bills, and I had to do all of these other things to pay the bills. And I don't think if you don't have to pay the bills, if you have the ability to stay at home and watch TV or play video games all day, I think 98 out of 100 people will choose to essentially do nothing with their lives, and that is a real problem.
And it's sad too. The first time I watched WALL-E, the classic Pixar movie, where in the future humanity is all on this space cruise ship, weighing
lazy
300
boy
pounds
chairs,
and
fatter and fatter, and yep,
yeah, and just nothing
dumber.
to do but gossip and eat, and that was about it. That's not much of a future, but. Don't accuse me of a Luddite, because if we can get to a future with Jenny Agutter running around in a translucent micro toga,
Jenny Agutter,
count me in. And the thing is, I'm not the only one. I don't know if you saw this, but a few months ago, Tesla, it's hard to keep track of all of Musk's company, released a video of its learning AI household robot. Not a household robot yet, but that's the eventual application, where it was performing simple household tasks that it had never done before, that it had no programming to do, based on simple voice commands and using the large language model embedded in its own systems to figure out how to stir a spaghetti sauce or fold a shirt. Going off on a small tangent here, the real problem with the household robot, and Musk himself has said this, is the hand. This is a marvelous bit of engineering, whether you think it evolved that way or designed that way. It is strong. It is sensitive. It is just amazing.
And the amount of our brains that is applied to the hands is astonishing. How much of our brain wiring goes directly to our hands.
Well, and they didn't show
Exactly.
you the outtakes of that video when the robot was folding spaghetti and stirring a shirt.
Which is just embarrassing. The robot issued an apology note to the family. It was a huge, huge mess. And don't even ask what happened with the diaper. But my point is, I showed this video to my wife that evening on the sofa, and she's like, "Oh my God, what do those things cost?" And I said, "Well, they're not available yet. It's going to be several years so you can get one of these things, but Musk says he wants to get that down to $20,000 or $30,000. And my wife immediately said, "We'll sell one of the cars."
Or you finance the robot the way you'd finance a car.
Yeah,
it will
exactly.
be that way.
And that's the whole thing. Regardless of whether this future ends up going, Planet of the Apes or Garden of Eden, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's coming. So that's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Or maybe you'll have robots watch us for you.